Not a fan of this at all.
Why are you apologizing for Dan Bilzerian?
No, I'm not apologizing for anybody. He's his own grown man. You could have that conversation with him. What I'm saying is,
think he meant?
I don't like
that he wants to play hide and seek with the Jews. 10 million of them.
You think Dan Bilzerian right now with that comment meant go and blow it up and kill all the people that are there, the innocent, everybody, women, everybody.
I actually literally think that's what he meant.
I don't think so.
He said the world would be a better place without Israel.
If England didn't give Israel that land, they gave it to him and did what they did to the Palestinians. He's saying the world would be a better place. He's not saying kill them.
Okay.
He's saying...
So if that's the case, I'm sorry, I have to just stop you.
The exchange on the PBD podcast quickly moved beyond disagreement and into something more revealing. When Dan Bilzerian and Bassem Youssef criticized Israel's actions in Gaza, concerns widely reported by humanitarian groups and international media, the discussion shifted away from evidence and toward questioning intent. Rather than address policy, criticism was framed as something far more extreme. That framing is what broke the conversation. Criticizing a government was treated as an attack on an entire people, shutting down any meaningful debate. The moment Vinny pushed back, the dynamic changed. Confidence gave way to hesitation, exposing how fragile the narrative was. What remained was a clear contrast between blind loyalty and a basic democratic principle. No government should be immune from scrutiny.
So, you ask, you can criticize Israel without being anti-Semitic. Okay, I'm with you on that. I criticize George W. Bush. I criticize Kamala. I get it. But what happens is you go from being anti-Israel, and there's a slippery slope, bro. All of a sudden you end up being anti-Zionist, and then you end up being anti-Jewish, and then you end up being like, well, let's kill the Jews. And that's how you end up with Dan Bilzerian basically saying, yeah, they bring nothing to the table. They're a pariah. We should eliminate them. That's not exactly being critical of Bibi Netanyahu.
Well, Adam, that slippery slope from criticizing Israel's government, I don't know how that I would never that slope to get to I hate Jews.
You wouldn't.
No,
but Dan Bilzerian did.
I don't think Dan Bilzerian hates Jews. I think Dan Bilzerian doesn't like Israel. You must have not seen.
What were the exact words he said about Israel, Pat? I don't want to put words in his mouth.
Israel is not a Jewish person. He doesn't like Israel. Okay. Israel, like Adam, that's like saying I don't like America. Does that mean
the world's a better place without Israel on the map?
Okay, as a country, but does that mean he hates Jewish people?
So what does that mean? What happens to Israel? What happens to the 10 million people that are living in Israel that when they're eliminated?
He didn't say kill them.
What do you think happens to these people?
Off the map.
Take them off the map. Israel. That when they're eliminated,
what happens? He didn't say kill them.
What do you think happens to these people?
Off the map.
Take them off the map.
Is the world a better place?
Okay, meaning
for you, I'm asking you. Do you think the world's a better place without Israel on the map?
I mean, at this point, no. We have to have them there at this point.
At what point would it be good?
I'm just saying, from when was the Balfour Declaration? When was Israel created? 1948.
Well, the Balfour Declaration was after World War I in 1917, and then Israel was given a state in 1948. By the way, when Israel became a state, you think they just started handing out flowers and bouquets to everyone around? They've been to war with all their Middle Eastern allies. Here's something you need to consider. I said you have allies, you have partnerships, you have trade agreements, you have alliances. Do you realize how many alliances and trade agreements Israel has basically put together with the Arab world? Trump, who started the Abraham Accords, you're a Trump guy, yes? You're America First guy, yes? Mm-hmm. Trump is the one that moved the U.S. Embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. Yeah. There's a lot of people that think that they were this close to having a deal with Saudi Arabia and MBS, and that all basically spiraled after October 7th. So why would all these Muslim countries who formerly were at war with Israel start alliances with them? Because they recognize one thing. They might not love Israel. They might not love Bibi Netanyahu, but they recognize what you fail to recognize and what a lot of people fail to recognize. Because if you don't make friends with them, that means you're on the side of the Islamic Republic of Iran. And what happens is they recognize that Iran is the biggest threat in the region to the two things that every country wants: peace and prosperity. It's not going to work.
So how do you feel about Trump's recent positioning and alignment with Israel?
I think, I don't know. I'm kind of indifferent because it's kind of weird. I just saw the other day, Rob could probably find it. He was speaking somewhere and there was 3 American flags on one side and then 3 Israeli flags on the other side. And I don't know what has happened.
Israeli flags?
Israeli flags.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
3 and 3.
Right,
Let's see. And it was kind of, and I have, because this, by the way, he wasn't doing this in 2016, correct? There was.
Press play, Rap. Press play.
Teeny little spot compared to these giant land masses. Israel is a tiny little spot compared to these giant land masses. It's really a tiny spot. I actually said, is there any way of getting more? It's so tiny. Israel.
Well, can I say something about this?
At this point, the full exchange is about to be shown, and this is where the atmosphere noticeably changes. Pay close attention to how the confidence in the room starts to falter once the argument is challenged. The pacing shifts, the responses become less certain, and the tone no longer feels controlled. Stick with it through the final moments, because the last reaction tells you everything you need to know.
Say something about this. Unless he's speaking in front of AIPAC or in Israel, I'm actually not a fan of this.
I'm with you.
Because despite all the arguments we've had, I'm an American. I believe in America first. I don't believe in America only, and we can only take care of our homeland. No, we have problems abroad, clearly.
But hang on.
So I don't know where the speech was.
Tell me where you are with Trump today.
I respect the hell out of you, Adam, for saying that. Any United States past, present, anybody speaking should only have the American flag behind you, period. Our church has an Israeli flag in the front. The other day I'm like, wait, what? What about the Palestinian? Like, there's Palestinian good people. Yeah, Hamas is, doing what they're doing, but what about Palestine? Anyway, when I see something like this, I almost feel, I'm not a fan, I'm going to be honest with you. I almost feel, Pat, like 2020, what happened? He got cheated. They cheated. He lost COVID, blah, blah. I think this alliance is almost like, hey, listen, you buddy with us, and we won't let what happened in 2020 happen in 2024. I think that's an alliance that he's making.
What's the quote? If you hate America, what does it say? If you hate America, if you want to eliminate Israel, then we don't want you in our country. What do you think about him saying that?
Well, if you want to eliminate,
I guess Dan Bilzerian needs to leave.
I think. Listen, and I don't. By the way, I don't know Dan Bilzerian's exact what he's talking about. If he's saying disperse the people.
You didn't watch the interview with Pat?
No, I watched it. But when he says Israel, the world would be a better place without Israel. Do you think that he thinks right now nuke it and get rid of everybody, or break it up as a country and get everybody out of there? Where do you really think he thinks?
Does it even make a difference?
Yeah, no, but hold on.
Basically, what he's saying is everything that's going on there, this democracy called Israel with all those Jews. We don't even want that on earth anymore. That's how I process it.
I don't think he thinks what you're thinking. Well, I'm not a fan of this at all.
Why are you apologizing for Dan Bilzerian?
No, I'm not apologizing for anybody. He's his own grown man. You could have that conversation with him. What I'm saying is,
think he meant?
I don't like
that he wants to play hide and seek with the Jews. 10 million of them.
You think Dan Bilzerian right now with that comment meant go and blow it up and kill all the people that are there, the innocent, everybody, women, everybody.
I actually literally think that's what he meant.
I don't think so.
He said the world would be a better place without Israel.
If England didn't give Israel that land, they gave it to him and did what they did to the Palestinians. He's saying the world would be a better place. He's not saying kill them.
Okay,
he's saying.
So if that's the case, I'm sorry, I have to just stop you.
What became increasingly clear is that the hosts weren't prepared for sustained resistance. Instead of engaging with the substance of what Dan Bilzerian and Bassem Youssef were actually saying, the discussion devolved into hyper-focused word policing and repeated attempts to cast doubt on their motives. The conversation drifted away from policy, history, and humanitarian impact, and toward a narrow effort to control how the topic itself could be discussed. That shift revealed more than disagreement. It exposed frustration. When a guest refuses to stay within a pre-approved framework, debate gives way to deflection. Rather than addressing widely reported concerns about Israel's conduct, the emphasis turned to defending a fixed narrative and discrediting anyone who challenged it. The tone hardened, patience disappeared, and the exchange began to feel less like dialogue and more like enforcement. Watching it unfold, the underlying tension became obvious. The issue wasn't that alternative views lacked substance. It was that they disrupted a storyline certain voices were determined to preserve. In that moment, the reaction on display said far more about the limits of acceptable discourse than it did about the arguments being made.
you're acting like Israel's the biggest problem.
I didn't. No, I'm not acting. No, you're putting words in my mouth.
You're acting like that's the reason that Afghanistan, Lebanon, Syria, Yemen, half the countries are falling apart.
Going back to my point, why are we talking about Israel? Why is Candace talking about Israel? Why is Israel the big talk of the town for the past, when was October 7th? Since October 7th, that's all people, but that's the main event is that. And why, Adam? And we've asked this.
Because anti-Semitic people like them keep talking about Israel.
No, ready for this? No, because I've asked this a bunch of times, and Steve Kirby said it. Because remember, 9/11 happened how long ago? How long ago, Rob?
23 years ago.
23 years ago. To this day, real people that are awake know what happened on 9/11, who was really in charge, and what happened, and how they set it up.
You're the real people?
Yeah, Adam.
Okay, you know what? You know what happened on 9/11, but not our actual CIA, FBI.
Oh, yeah, government. Adam, you trust the government. You go ahead and do that.
No, I'm going to trust Vinny.com.
Yeah, no, Adam. That's Vinny, then how did Vinny know shit that you didn't know? Because I was in during 9/11, and I knew.
Do you remember when Candace Owens hitched her entire career to the fact that Emmanuel Macron's wife was a man?
And guess what? I still believe that.
You still believe
I believe it.
Okay.
Yeah, because they haven't proved me wrong. Number two, so that 9/11 happened, and we still don't have the answers, okay? October 7th happened, the biggest failure of the biggest security freaking guarded spot. You've been to Israel. For 6 hours they did what they went. Where's the accountability of, when are we going to find out what happened, Adam? Ready? 30 years from now, where they're going to go, actually, Benjamin Netanyahu, yeah, they knew and they turned the other cheek. What if you found that out, Adam?
Vinny.com just found out what happened on 9/11, so it might take 20 years.
Adam.org.
The key takeaway from this clip is how easily legitimate criticism can be misrepresented in political media. Adam Sosnick repeatedly frames Dan Bilzerian's remarks about Israel as a slippery slope toward hatred of an entire people, a claim that doesn't hold up to the context or intent of what was said. This isn't neutral commentary. It resembles an effort to defend a political narrative at all costs. When Dan highlights that certain state policies have contributed to ongoing cycles of conflict and humanitarian crises, he is pointing to documented historical and political realities. Yet, instead of engaging with those facts, his words are twisted into something extreme and inflammatory. This distortion has serious consequences, suggesting that questioning the actions of a government is morally equivalent to hatred of a people, shuts down critical discussion, and discourages anyone from addressing humanitarian concerns. It transforms what should be a factual debate into a moral minefield. Vinny's intervention in the conversation underscores the significance of this misrepresentation. By stepping in to clarify, he interrupts the narrative manipulation and gives the audience a chance to understand what is actually being said. For viewers, this raises pressing questions. Can Adam Sosnick provide unbiased analysis? Or is his perspective so narrowly aligned with defending entrenched positions that it crosses into advocacy rather than commentary? And perhaps more importantly, should voices like Dan Bilzerian be silenced or attacked for highlighting uncomfortable truths about Palestine simply because it challenges powerful narratives? These are questions about media integrity and the responsibility of journalists and hosts to allow discussion rooted in evidence rather than fear or partisanship. This exchange illustrates a broader problem in today's media landscape. When inconvenient truths are mischaracterized or dismissed, the public is deprived of transparent, critical dialogue. Accurate reporting and informed commentary are essential for democratic engagement. By supporting channels and voices that prioritize facts, asking hard questions, and demanding accountability, audiences can push back against narrative control and remain informed about global issues that affect millions of lives. The takeaway is clear. Speaking the truth about humanitarian crises and geopolitical realities should never be equated with extremism. Audiences deserve clarity, context, and courageous reporting, not narratives designed to intimidate or silence. Platforms that commit to presenting reality, encouraging critical thought, and holding power accountable are more important now than ever.